like to make these sorts of items that ask about something fundamental and simple. And my sort of the logic behind that, even though I think right now that I will definitely remember these items, and so perhaps you'd say, well, there's no point in making the item. The logic behind making the item anyway is that if you get an item correct in SM, every time you are shown it, you will only
Get an item correct, I will phrase it as recalling the item, the answer successfully.
be shown it 6 times, perhaps over a lifetime.
That's a good point. So even if in incremental reading, at least in Supermemo, how it is, assuming you don't have an outstanding queue that accumulates, you do the repetition. The same day it becomes outstanding, assuming this, that it's the best case possible, is not reality. That means that even if I create an item that happens that I will remember anyways, so I didn't need the artificial repetition in Supermemo, yes, I will have wasted some time, but I will have done like 6 or 7 repetitions in my lifetime, or let's say 3 decades, is how Supermemo calculates that, 3 decades. Because above that, could be you do one extra repetition at 50 years or 60 years. But it will be none or one. So we can simplify that 3 decades equals for the rest of your lifespan, unless you're a vampire. And how much you spend by repetition? A few seconds. Let's say 10. This question can be answered in 10 seconds, more or less. So yeah, I'll have invested a minute of my life. It's not that as a big deal. And if it happened that I generally forgot that, hey, happened likely that I did the card. It's like insurance. That, hey, I'm paying like a monthly fee. In this case, will be a fee that I pay 6 times in my life. But it's like I want to guarantee that I memorize that. So even if I think that, yeah, for instance, in this apartment, it's very unlikely that I will have, I don't know, fire or whatever that can destroy the building. It's very tiny. It could just happen 6 times in my lifetime. That happened in this apartment. But yeah, it's like an insurance. If it happens that I forget it, that the building is destroyed, hey, I have the insurance. If it happens that, oh, this was very basic and I think that it's fundamental, it has to be there. In 5 years, I forget it, hey, that's your insurance. Now it's a reminder, hey, you have forgotten this basic thing. That was very unlikely, but perhaps because of memory interference, whatever that may be, you have forgotten it.
Which is such a trivial investment in terms of time.
Yeah, that's more or less the summary. Investment in time. So more than insurance could be an investment, yeah. But the same is more or less the same analogy.
To remember such an important and fundamental fact that I always think that it's worth to sort of solidify the fundamentals of a subject. And I think that probably differs with the approaches of many other people. And part of it comes down to perhaps what algorithm you're using. For example, if you're using an algorithm that does give you a higher rep load, even if you get every repetition right over a lifetime, then you're going to be more cautious in terms of which items you make.
Exactly. Before FSRS, it was not available at the time of the recording. That was 3 years ago. Now you could do REST repetitions if you use Anki. Still more than if you use Supermemo. But without this discussion. If I do more repetitions, then it's not about a minute of my life. It could be 5 minutes of my time overall. So, it's to follow the analogy, if it's an investment, yeah, I can do the same investment, but that I'm being taxed at a higher percentage. Or I have an interest rate of a higher percentage as well. So yes, perhaps by average, if I invest in many different flashcards, I will still get a net benefit. But it's more likely that those individual flashcards that are for the basic and fundamental, I actually lose. I will win in the average. So the average will be slightly lower because of some individual losses. But yeah, take that in consideration. I did that in Anki, by the way. I'm back in today. And then that's when I realized, oh yeah, just in case, this is just in case. And I see this tomorrow, 2 days, 4 days, a week, 2 weeks. Too many repetitions, way too many. So in Supermemo, and adding a dimension that he hasn't mentioned is priorities. If it's very basic, fundamental, but I still want to put it because of the priority range it could be delayed. So even if the interval is a year, perhaps I need 2 years or 3. And if I successfully recall that because it's basic, that means that I will have a bonus. So the next interval will be even larger than the one that it would have been if I did the repetition on the same day, that it become outstanding. So that means that perhaps I will do even 1 repetition less or 2 fewer repetitions in my lifetime. In my collection, I have items like that I only did 2 reps, and the next repetition is in 14 years. That means that the third repetition will send the interval already longer. It will exceed the 30 years. So it's very likely if I don't fail that I won't do a 4th repetition. I will be like 80 years old by then. So in Supermemo, you can have more luxury with this because the repetition count load it's lower.